performances were like cherry on the top. My favorite Zakir and his banter with Vijay Sethupathi. That was the highlight for me.
So performances wise, Bhuvan for me is top of the line. And of course, I love Zakir Hussain. I thought he was fabulous as the finance minister. But I'm just thinking, imagine having a finance minister like that, you know.
I thought Shahid was brilliant. I was quite taken aback by Rashi because she's also looking extremely professional and mature. KK obviously is superb.
Even that first girlfriend of his, Kavya Thapar, I thought was absolutely spot on. She was so deliciously fake.
Deliciously fake.
And I like that guy, Saqib Ayub, a lot with the colored hair. He plays Anis.
Yeah.
Brilliant character played by Chittaranjan Giri. He was too good. And that little girl who just comes in one scene and sits on Anis's lap, even she just, all she has to say is be a brat and say, Kyun? And Bhuvan is like taken aback and says, क्या तुम्हारा सारा परिवार ही ऐसा है क्या? Hello and welcome to Dime a Dozen Films' second podcast. Firstly, thank you to all our listeners for making the first one such a success. We are humbled and grateful. Today's topic of discussion is the latest from celebrated directors Raj and DK, namely Farzi the series, which is streaming on Amazon Prime Video. For those of you who have not seen it, let me warn you, this podcast is full of spoilers. For your listening convenience, this podcast is in 2 parts. We hope you have as much fun listening to it as we had while we were creating it. Hello, Ashuu ji. Hello, Saurabh. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody, once again. And after having heard such brilliant responses to our first episode, I'm just looking forward to kicking the second one off in a great fashion. Feels good, doesn't it?
It really does.
पिछले एपिसोड की अपार सफलता के बाद, पठान की अपार सफलता के बाद, हम तीनों फिर से जुड़े हुए हैं रोमांचक एपिसोड के साथ। कैसे हैं आप लोग?
अमीन सयानी जी, हम तो बिल्कुल बढ़िया है। आप बताएं, आपका क्या हाल है?
मैं भी काफी बढ़िया हूँ आशु जी।
क्या बात है, बाप रे बाप। Back in time.
Okay, back from विविध भारती, हम नॉर्मल आ जाते हैं।
Right.
True.
Okay, so जैसे मैं पूछती हूँ आपसे कि आपका दिन कैसा रहा, आशु जी, सौरभ?
I've had a beautiful day.
Oh, that's
I've had a wonderful day. Yeah. And I'm hoping you two also have had a wonderful day. And I'm looking into making it even more better with this podcast now.
Saurabh, how was your day?
मेरा भी ठीक है क्या? Ups and downs and quite learning.
Right.
काफी सीखा मैंने हर दिन से।
Really, Ashuu ji, to take off from what you said and from what Saurabh said, is the responses to our first podcast were surprisingly, judging from the number of downloads and the way that it's gone global, it's a very good sign. That's very encouraging. Very encouraging.
It's a sign that we are doing something right.
Yes. That we are able to engage people, that we are able to.
Also, I think the thing that we're doing really right is that we are actually speaking our mind out.
But the numbers which we saw, it's like an award for an independent podcast because it's not being sponsored by anyone.
Yes.
We three are doing this.
So I have a feeling with these numbers, we'll get a sponsor immediately now.
Right.
आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर।
Acha, so should we get on with today's topic as we all decided and suggested by our erstwhile Saurabh? Today's topic will be the series Farzi, which has gathered and garnered a lot of interest. And we're going to talk about that.
You know what is strange?
Yeah.
You're saying it's garnered a lot of interest, but the insiders believe that it hasn't got the kind of traction that generally a series does get. This one actually has fallen a little short, and people believe that it might, hit the reputation of certain people involved with the series. Of course, it could have been early days, and it's also the mentality of the industry to sort of be very, very, very skeptical with everything new that comes in. Although personally I liked it, and I think all the three of us have liked it, but the general feedback that I've got from within the trade is that it hasn't got the kind of traction one believed it would have.
Interesting. Saurabh, I will come to you first. What did you think of Farzi?
What I think about फर्जी बोलने से पहले a disclaimer कि भले ये शो का नाम फर्जी है, मगर हमारा जो पॉडकास्ट वो एकदम असली है, and it's not a super note also. It's original.
असली वाला असली है कि नकली वाला असली है?
असली वाला असली एकदम 91 कैसे 916 बोलते हैं कि ISI मार्क वाला है. I quite enjoyed Farzi, though it lacked that quirkiness of the Family Man. So this show is created by Raj&Dk, and the previous successful show Family Man was also created by Raj&Dk, and दोनों एक ही universe के हैं. So that's why I'm comparing. So that quirkiness of Family Man इस शो में थोड़ा मिसिंग है, but still I enjoyed the.
So that is Saurabh's first impression. Ashuu, what about yours? What did you think?
So overall, I would say it's fairly good. It's a reasonably good show, extremely well performed, decently written, well shot, in terms of taking, in terms of edit, in terms of various other things. But on to that much later. But overall, if you ask me, I was pretty happy with having invested my time on the show.
Right. So coming to myself, I enjoyed the show as well. I was invested right from the first episode. And my first impression of the show was, yes, entertaining. And I did binge watch it. I quite liked it. And that was my first impression. But there were some things which we'll come to, which don't work. But that, is also, I feel like cutting them a little bit of slack, when I'm saying this. But on the whole, a good show, different. And what I liked about it was that it's a crime thriller, but it has this languid pace which worked for me. It's not going at a breakneck speed. That worked for me. What worked for me was the comedy. It's laced with comedy, especially the first two episodes, the dialogues and the comedy. We will come to all of that. But first impressions, I like the show on the whole. Saurabh, would you like to say anything else?
Yeah, it was decently entertaining. Like, as I told before also, that Family Man में जो था, that X factor, that was missing a bit. I will also discuss about that too. मुझे वो मतलब थोड़ा कम लगा. But overall, it was a decent entertainment. एक बार तो देख सकते.
क्या है फैमिली मैन जो है ना, अलग किस्म का सीरीज था, अलग फॉर्मेट था. But having said that, honestly speaking, Family Man 1 was far better than Family Man 2. And yes, the Family Man series is definitely a better series than Farzi. There's no doubt about it. The only thing is that this is a different story. That's a different story. So we will have different audiences for it. But yes, I agree with you that overall, Family Man as a package is better than Farzi.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I'd like to, kind of speak about the narrative style, whether it worked for you, Saurabh, and for you, Ashuu. We could then talk about the dialogues. And I would like to talk about the production design, the performances, what worked, what didn't work, and of course, the background score. Did the narrative work for you, Saurabh?
Yeah, so the basic theme of this show is greed. Right, greed is the main theme of this show. So that quite worked. That greed theme quite worked. The problem was not with the narrative, but with character arcs. So I was little disappointed with Shahid Kapoor's characterization, the stakes, the conflict between him and Dadu, his Dadu, and the flashback, that was not quite engaging for me. So when his Nanu dies, Amol Palekar's character dies, उस टाइम में आप सॉरी फील नहीं करते शायद कपूर के लिए. मैं किया नहीं, जस्ट दिस इज जस्ट माय सब्जेक्टिव पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. मैं वो फील नहीं किया, बट आई वाज विद विजय सेतुपति's कैरेक्टर. सो व्हेन विजय सेतुपति पुअर गाय वो डिवोर्स उसका होता है, then that time I felt bad for him because he loses his child also. तो उसको अपने बच्चे का कस्टडी नहीं मिलता. So that connected with me. But this didn't connected with me because I think because he was selfish, Shahid Kapoor's character, because his character was selfish, and later on he वो बहुत गुस्सा हो जाता है, rage में आ जाता है because his नानू dies. So वो दो एक contradiction है उसके कैरेक्टर में. वो contradiction की वजह से clarity नहीं मिला मुझे as an audience. But what in that narrative, what worked was, of course, Raj&Dk's brand of dark humor. वो जो dark humor वो suddenly मतलब unexpected जगहों में जो place करते हैं, जैसे even starting from that first film 99. So that brand is there in this show also. So that worked for me. बहुत unexpected जगहों में humor डालना, मतलब कुछ भी एक पेंटिंग देख के, there's a particular scene which is my favorite scene where KK Menon says that oh bang goo की painting. that was so that was so well written scene.
Yeah.
उन्होंने रिसर्च किया, लिटरली रिसर्च किया होगा ना कि वैन गो का भाई भी था, उसकी पेंटिंग है. So that I quite enjoyed. So there are many moments like this which I enjoyed in the series.
Yes,
and there are a lot of plot holes and loopholes also, which we will discuss thoroughly.
Yes.
In this part.
Okay, so Saurabh and Ashuu ji, should we talk about the parts in the show the plot points which were a little too convenient? Because I found some, I'm sure you would have found some, and this afternoon Saurabh and I were talking about something. So over to you, Saurabh. What parts did you find that they became too convenient? They were just put there.
Yeah, so the obvious one was the meeting of Rashi Khanna and Shahid Kapoor. So this is a trope in every Hindi film you can see. The major example is Doom series. In every film you have seen, like in Doom 1, Uday Chopra going to John Abraham, meeting John Abraham and उसके टीम में, उसके दल में आ जाता है. In the second part, Aishwarya Rai meets Hrithik Roshan, and in the third, Katrina meets Amir Khan. So same thing is happening here, but reverse. The criminal जाके meet करता है police officer को, जाके मिलता है. So that this convincing thing happens in every mainstream Indian film.
So you mean the next time I go to a coffee shop, I should look out for something like this happening?
If you are doing a crime or you are undercover agent,
all crimes are uncovered in a coffee shop.
Yes.
And Ashuji, don't order just coffee.
Just coffee.
Nice observation.
Yeah. And Saurabh, I completely agree with you on that Rashi Khanna Shahid in the restaurant. But you carry on, that we'll talk about. You carry on with
in the coffee shop, you mean?
Yeah, Rashi Khanna meeting with Shahid in the restaurant looks too staged. For me, that entire relationship.
Please talk about that, Nalini.
Right. So for me, Rashi Khanna meeting with Shahid in the restaurant looks too staged. For me, the entire relationship is a bit unreal and convenient. It's too quick. Because you have shown us this girl as being a very smart girl. She's accustomed to being suspicious of people. She's her own person, but she gets taken in by Shahid too easily. But I was telling myself, Saurabh, that maybe I'm being too judgmental and this is also human. I said, let me cut her some slack because, I mean, she's a workaholic. And when she finds someone out of her workspace with whom she can connect, so she's, become infatuated with him. So I was saying, okay, fine, don't be. But then when he drops into a house, as we were talking, sort of in the afternoon, someone who works for the RBI in a very specific department, she's instrumental in creating the CT600 scanner, which can detect fake notes. And she would be very alert, like she was in the restaurant when the waiter comes and gives her that change back, and she pulls out the 500 and very quickly she feels it, and then she goes to the manager and says, "Ye note kahan se mila?" And you may be having fake notes. So over there, she's very alert when she's with that doctor surgeon. But here he's dropping in at a place. Her laptop is open. He can read what she's reading. She's reading about fake notes being captured here, there, and everywhere. Her file is lying open. He starts off. He goes to the box. He says, "Can I help you with the packing?" And then he opens one box and he finds, I think they're numismatic coins because she's a coin collector or whatever. And then he's just putting out things from there, and then he finds the file with the fake notes, and then she's having this discussion. So Saurabh, like you were saying, very convenient in the restaurant it starts, and I'm telling myself, okay, fine, yeah, it's okay, she's human after all. But then later on it became a little too convenient. So carry on, Saurabh.
And he taps her phone also. That is also a cliched trope thing.
Yes, and Saurabh, every time, she doesn't notice. She's so alert, but she doesn't notice. Once though they are sitting at the same table when they have that. That's a very nice, actually, juxtaposition where they're all on that same call when they're Shahid is going to get caught with 100 crores in City Mall or wherever. But even before that, she doesn't seem to notice that every time her phone pings, his pings too, the same second. It's the same second. It happens in the restaurant, it happens in her house, and she never shows any kind of interest. And then she only gives one, when he comes back after weeks, and she says, "Kya hua? Maine message kiya, ye kiya, tumne jawab nahi diya." And he says, "Haan, mera phone kharab ho gaya tha." I think this is when he comes to her house after the 12,000 crores has come into that ship. And he comes back and she just says, "तुम्हारे phone के साथ तो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ होता रहता है ना?" नहीं सौरभ?
Yeah. And one more convenient thing is राशि खन्ना को ही बेचते हैं वो उससे डील करने के लिए.
Oh, yes.
Then शाहिद कपूर. And if you observe her expression is not कि अंदर कौन बैठा है, उसका चेहरा मुझे देखना है. Not that curiosity वाला expression, but the expression ऐसा लगा मुझे देख के कि ये शाहिद कपूर तो नहीं है, ये संदीप तो नहीं है. That kind of expression she gives.
Spot on. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, she's not trying to search for the face behind the glass. She's just looking intently at the face. That's the difference of expression which you're talking about, Saurabh. She should be actually searching for the face, and then you'd realize ye kaun baitha hai piche.
And talking about that, to take off from there, Saurabh, thanks for reminding me. That whole sequence in City Mall is too convenient. Rashi Khanna is impatiently, she gets out of the car, and it didn't make sense that Setupati, somebody like him, has handed this responsibility to somebody like her who's any case impatient. And the only reason she's got into this, she's saying, "मैं लड़की हूँ, कोई suspect नहीं करेगा." But जब वो, I mean, she's like a bull in a china shop. But when she gets out of the car and she says, "Fuck it, I'm getting out." But if you see her body language, if you see her gait, it's not of someone who's just looking for a car casually in a mall parking lot. It's very tense. So anybody looking at her would be suspicious. I found that too convenient and silly. Carry on, Saurabh.
Yeah. So that was the thing. That's it, Nalini.
और आशु जी, सौरभ, आपको ये नहीं लगा कि बहुत लेम था कि उसके फोन में they didn't find any bug? It was such a casual scanning of the phone.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're trying to show that these are intelligence officers of some level. And the first thing Vijay Sethupathi does is says, let's first find out हमारे घर में से तो लीक नहीं हो रही. चलो सब अपने फोन निकालो. सबका फोन आता है और वो फोन ऐसी लेमैन की तरह सबको देखता है. And then some point of time, he gives the phones back to each one of them also without scanning the phone. and
funny
wanting
thing,
to understand if there is a malware or if there is a bug kept inside or whatever, nothing. So what happens is when you do not do this kind of stuff, the edge of the seed feel doesn't come in at all. It just becomes very convenient.
बिल्कुल. और आशु जी वो फोन वापस भी कब देता है? He looks at her WhatsApp message and asks her, ये संदीप कौन है? And she
हाँ.
says to him very aggressively, if you're done with that, I would like my phone back or something. And I also wanted to ask, since we are on this topic, Saurabh, you have any more convenient? Because I have a few more, which for me didn't work.
I don't have any more to say, Nandiji. Please carry on.
Okay, so I have a question that when you're talking to somebody about something very confidential, and you're going to possibly, even if you're on the road or something, you're probably going to take somebody into a corner or say something. तो एक sequence है इसमें जब when Sethupathi accosts the journalist in a very busy causeway. It looks like Kulaba Causeway. Sorry, it looks like that. It may not be that. And very busy pavement where there are lots of stalls, the hawkers, there are small shops. I mean, it's milling with people. And she sees him, he comes and jumps right in front of her, and she says to him that if you're stalking me, I'm going to call the cops. And he says, no, I've just come to say sorry, let bygones be bygones, and all of that. She said, if that's the case, then it's fine. And she turns and she is about to leave. Now she's left and she's away from him. They're not even close. And he calls her back. But from there itself, he doesn't call her back. Actually, he says to her, I have a scoop for you. So then where she's standing, she gets very interested, a scoop. And then she comes near him. Now he fishes out a 2,000 rupee note, from what I remember, from his pocket, and he's waving it about and says, gives her the scoop about the super note. Okay. And people are just walking around. So, I mean, their conversation is also pretty loud. So that didn't make sense to me. And I don't know how the 12,000 crores from those huge containers, how do they get into the warehouses?
Haven't they shown it? They've already showed it that where the crates are being fished out of from underwater and then ferried across to the land and then put onto various trucks, and they show 5-6 trucks traveled together, and the next thing you know that they're in the warehouse with on which they're sitting on a bundle of notes.
No, I saw the underwater, I saw those little ships, but maybe I missed the trucks on the road with the money. Maybe I missed that part.
Yeah. They've shown that.
And another thing that doesn't work for me is the sketch artist conveniently gets Shahid's face so wrong. It's completely wrong.
Yeah. I agree. So he says, call a sketch artist, मैंने उसकी शक्ल देखी है. And then the sketch artist comes and he draws something else. He says, how can you draw something when I'm telling you this is what it is? So I found that extremely convenient.
Yes.
Where the sketch artist gets it wrong.
Right. And also in the last episode, which is called Crash and Burn, when the Jeep in which they're traveling, it crashes and it overturns. And there's money all over the streets, and there are cops milling about the streets. And these two boys, they climb out without being injured or anything. They climb out of that Jeep. Nobody's even looking at them. Now, you may say that why should anybody look at them, because people are busy picking up money from the streets. But I'm saying no, they're very close to that Jeep. Nobody's looking at these boys. They're changing their clothes there. They take off their jackets. They get, to look different. And then they get off that Jeep. Cops are milling around. Money is all over the place. It's so crowded. By the time they get off that Jeep and start walking hand in hand, Sethupathi and Rashi Khanna have already reached that point. And so at some point, they're showing that they could have noticed these boys. Now, if I was a cop like Sethupathi and like Rashi is not a cop, but whatever, these are the only two boys who are not bending down, who are not going for the money in that scene. From what I remember, these are the only two boys very languidly, very slowly walking away from the scene. So that in itself should have made them noticeable. So again, very convenient. And when in the afternoon, Saurabh and I were talking about this scene, Saurabh also pointed out, he remembered that there's a continuity. Saurabh, would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah. I just observed that there was a continuity error also there when he's getting out of the Jeep, right, with Firoz. He's wearing the cap. Then you see he's holding the cap. Then you see he's walking. while wearing the cap. So a slight continuity error I observed.
Right. Ashuri, do you have any more convenient plot points would you like to discuss? Otherwise, we can move on.
Yeah, I have a lot of convenient plot points which I'd like to highlight. I will not highlight all of them, but there were certain, like the interpersonal relationship between Rashi Khanna's character and Shahid's character is extremely, it's convenient for me, hugely convenient, because जब चाहिए तब वो राशि के सामने होता है, जब चाहिए तब गायब हो जाता है, जब जब शाहिद को चाहिए तब. एंड राशि एक आध बार बोल के समरीली खत्म कर देती है कि तुम कहाँ गायब हो गए थे, तुम्हारे फोन ऐसे खराब रहते हैं. शी डजंट कम अक्रॉस एज समबडी हु वुड आई डोंट नो, मेरे को रिलेशनशिप बड़ा अजीब सा लगा. The other thing that I thought was, in a high-end restaurant where Shahid has gone with his first girlfriend, and the girlfriend, he says, "I will pay for it." So it's the fake currency that he eventually pays for. My thing is, when you go into the elite restaurants, most of the clientele would generally pay through credit cards, but Shahid pays cash. When Shahid pays cash, Rashi comes to the same restaurant and looks for the note, and I mean, she happens to see the note and says, "Oh, this is fake." And then she knows that there are more notes that are fake. And just before that, you have shown a sequence where, or we show the audience that the girlfriend is talking to the waiter in the table and knows him well. So it was so simple for Rashi's character or the department to even investigate. Do you know, or would you know, who's given you the notes? And then they could have described that this is the person who came and gave the notes. Because ऐसे रेस्टोरेंट्स में नोट्स देने वाले लोग बहुत कम होते हैं. तो उनको अब जब वो कैश रजिस्टर खोलते भी है तो इट इज नॉट स्टैक्ड विद नोट्स, इट्स गॉट वेरी लिमिटेड नोट्स. बट उधर जाने दिया, खाली वो नोट हाथ में ले लिया और जब चाहिए तब नोट दिखा दिया. जैसे आपने कहा नलिनी जी कि उसके घर में लैपटॉप भी खुला रहता है, उसके घर में कॉइन्स का भी सिलेक्शन दिखता है और वो नोट भी, फेक नोट भी निकाल के दिखा देती है. एवरीथिंग इज देयर इन दैट हाउस. तो ये इतना कन्वीनियंट लगता है मेरे को. दूसरा मतलब, अगेन आई एम सेइंग द सेम थिंग कि जब जब व्हेन अमोल पालेकर्स कैरेक्टर गेट्स शाहिद्स कैरेक्टर बचपन में, ही गेट्स हिम होम, वो बोलता है मैं आऊंगा, मेरे साथ में मेरे दोस्त को भी लेके आना पड़ेगा. तो फिरोज को साथ में लेकर के आते हैं. अब दोनों की अपब्रिंगिंग सेम है, चलो सेम ना हो, सिमिलर तो है ही. एक दूसरे के साथ बोलना, बैठना, उठना, खाना पीना, दोनों का प्यार नानू की तरफ ऑलमोस्ट इक्वली होता है. बट एक इतनी सुपर्ब इंग्लिश बोलता है और एक को इंग्लिश मतलब लगभग बोलता ही नहीं है. मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया, हाउ इज इट इवन रिमोटली पॉसिबल दैट टू पीपल लिविंग इन द सेम एनवायरमेंट, वन स्पीक्स हिंदी इन अ डिफरेंट वे, द अदर स्पीक्स हिंदी इन अ डिफरेंट वे. जैसे वो रेस्टोरेंट में बैठा है, एलीट रेस्टोरेंट में लड़की के साथ बात कर रहा है और सडनली उसके मुंह से इंग्लिश लगती है, तो मुझे लगता है यार ये, हाउ इज दिस कैरेक्टर स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश. द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ हु, where you live in, the environment that you are in, is shown by the costumes and the clothes that you wear. The only influence that seemed to be there in Shahid Kapoor's life in his growing years seems to be Amol Palekar. But look at his costume that he wears, the clothes that he wears. Sure, I mean, he can be shown as a rebel where he's got these tattoos and all that is happening. But look at the clothes. He looks anything but an artist through his clothes. But none of these things sort of make sense to me. That is why, none of these things make any sense to me. I mean, I'm trying to find out what the thing is. I mean, I've seen a lot of Raj and DK's work and I quite like their work also. And, but they've got central protagonist characters who represent the investigative agency that they work for. Like, for example, in The Family Man. In Family Man, you have Manoj Bajpayee's character that works for an investigative agency and he's struggling with his family. He's struggling with his wife and his child. I mean, the wife is being played by Priyamani, and Priyamani is having an extramarital affair with Sharad Kilkar's character. Cut to Farzi. You have Vijay Sethupathi that represents or works for another investigative agency, and he's also got a wife played by Regina Cassandra, also got a child, and Regina Cassandra has got an extramarital affair with another character. I mean, the same template. I'm sure you can, as creative people, you can come with a different backstory for two different investigative agency personnel, right? But the backstory seems to be the same. At the same time, you have Regina Cassandra's character that is sort of stone cold towards Vijay Sethupathi and wants out in any way whatsoever, and at the same time shows warmth by telling the lawyer or instructing the lawyer within the court, saying that, don't insult him, don't demean him, and then turning on and say, I don't want your house, by showing warmth and whatever. What is it that Raj and DK are trying to create is something that I'm at loss for, in terms of what is happening there. So maybe, because you're an avid viewer of Raj and DK's work and you like their work, as do I, maybe you can throw some light. I can't seem to, throw some light. Maybe you can help me.
So I think both are happening in same universe, maybe because of that.
मुझे वो चीज समझ में नहीं आती, बिकॉज जब एक क्रिएटर जो है दो स्टोरीज पे काम करता है ना, तो सेम यूनिवर्स, दे डोंट बिलोंग टू द सेम यूनिवर्स रियली, because one is a completely different universe, this is a completely different universe. Anyway, I mean, this is
But
this
they
is
talk,
just a,
but they talk to each other, right, in the show.
yeah, they do talk to each other. Even there also, the husband and wife talk to each other and they live with each other. Here they ask for divorce.
No, Vijay Sethupathi talks to Manoj Bajpayee's character, right?
When was that?
Yeah, they're going to show it in part 2. They're going to reveal.
No. The Farzi mein, there is a scene where he's talking with Shrikant.
Shrikant, yes.
जी literally मनोज बाजपेयी का वॉइस ओवर सुनने को मिलेगा आपको.
अच्छा, so this is an eye opener to me, because I mean, you're an avid watcher person, definitely, but to say that the two of them speak to each other and hence they share the same family background also sounds a little convenient.
Ashuu, they are creating YRF is doing a spy universe. Raj and DK are doing this universe.
There are a lot of Easter eggs also in the show. बहुत सारे Easter eggs है और Family Man के बहुत सारे Easter eggs भी
like
even Chellam's character. Chellam, and there's one more. This
Chellam's
thing I saw. Also. Yeah, there's one more thing which I saw on internet, Twitter पे देखा था. Someone posted where these two guys, Shahid Kapoor and Firoz, they are standing near a bus stop, I guess, and Milind Hinduja, some building, something is written, and Milind Hinduja is a reference to Sunny Hinduja's character in Family Man. उसका character का नाम Milind है शायद.
Yeah.
But to Raj and DK's credit, I would like to state there are certain things which are brilliant. Like, the sequence where I think Vijay Sethupathi is driving through a jungle and he gets to know that money is coming from various corners, from various ports, from various places, fake currency is coming in. Every single point of time he gets a news that abhi idhar se paisa mila hai. You show him swatting a mosquito in an arm, in the neck, on the right arm. Matlab, it is so brilliantly portrayed that, multiple pests being attacked are attacking this character and he's trying to swat each one of them. I thought it's poetry over there, where when you see it, you realize that it's so subtly told. And that is why I believe that the director's job is so brilliantly handled in any sequence, in any scene, in any film. The communication comes through the dialogues or through expressions. And every scene, I believe personally, there are two layers of communications that happen. One, which you say through the dialogues, which the audiences listen and hear. And the other is what is unsaid. That's the energy of the scene that needs to come into the audiences to believe this is not said, it is between the lines, but this needs to reach the audiences through camera angles, through camera movements, through little expressions here and there. And that's where the director's job is handled so brilliantly. I think hats off to Raj and DK for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that swatting mosquito on his neck scene was fantastic. I made a note of that as well.
Some of the shots in Farzi, if you see, I was also talking about this with Nalini ji this afternoon, that it has this voyeuristic approach, especially the scenes with Vijay Sethupathi and Zakir, the conversation between them, or especially the scenes with CC Fart, the scenes where these people, the counterfeiting team, is having a conversation. I think the obvious uh, observation about this is why it is voyeuristic is because it's a very confidential thing. Counterfeiting is a very confidential and secretive thing. So if you want to know, so as an audience, if I want to know what conversation they are having, is through by peeping or by keeping my ear on the door and listen what they are talking. So the camera movement is also designed in that way, a voyeuristic way. So that's why all the shots, if you see, it's the camera is outside their room or outside the door or outside the window.
That's the hazard of this genre that we work with. That the moment you get into a thriller, or you get into a search film, or you get into a chase film, the voyeuristic feel will definitely come.
Yeah. So, can we speak about two or three things? One is whatever you want to start with. What did you like, if you liked any of the dialogues? And can we also speak about the performances? What worked for you and what didn't work for you in Farzi? So, whoever would like to go first, please take it, because I would love to hear what you have to say about these two things. And then we can go off and segue into something else, whatever you want to speak about.
So, okay, so let me speak about the performances of various characters or actors in the series. Now, I'll tell you one of the biggest things that Raj and DK have up their sleeve is they managed to get out extremely good performances from their actors, people who you may not know of or may not have heard of, and then you suddenly see them on screen and you believe, oh, they're so brilliant. I mean, just imagine somebody getting. His name is Sameer Kakkad, right?
Yes, Khopri.
Khopri. Getting him back for a character that is completely different to what his image is, because he became, for me, after Keshtu Mukherjee, he became the second Beoda in the film industry. You know, because of Nukkad, I think. Yeah, because of Nukkad. But to give him a completely different character, and then he says कि नोट जो है नोट के साथ पकड़े मत जाना कभी. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying the dialogue. So he's somebody who comes with his intelligence and actually says that you can do business of nakli notes, but see that it is never in your pocket. So from performance point of view, I thought Shahid was brilliant. I was quite taken aback by Rashi because she's also looking extremely professional and mature. Her performances were good. The dialogues were also nice, but yes, there is this little problem कि कभी कभी नेचुरल चीज करने में, एंड आई से इट इज पार्ट ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस, कभी कभी वो लोग इतना सॉफ्ट बोल देते हैं ना कि आपको समझ में नहीं आया कि इन्होंने बोला क्या, एंड देन यू हैव टू रीड सबटाइटल्स टू रियली मेक श्योर अच्छा ये चीज बोली थी. बारिंग दैट, I mean, whether it's Rashi, even that girl, I forget her first name, the second name is Thapar, the first girlfriend. She's also very comfortable. KK obviously is superb because KK, so people have seen him do, he creates his character, and how KK then, you know, if you see him in multiple films, he actually works on the definition of each character so that each one looks different from the other one that he has performed in another film or a series or whatever. So if you see him in special ops, he will be completely different to what you see him over here. You know, his frustration of saying fucking because he doesn't know English, and then his struggle to speak English, those little nuances that he brings to the character brings the character alive.
बिल्कुल. Saurabh?
Yes, so yeah, performances were like cherry on the top of ये series की सबसे खास बात, one of the खास बात acting थी, performances थी, and I loved my favorite. मैंने शायद पहले भी बोला था कि जाकिर हुसैन, his character and his banter with Vijay Sethupathi, that was the highlight for me. And second is KK Menon. KK Menon's performance, वो flamboyant कैरेक्टर है, वो हमेशा पिंक कलर की शर्ट, वैसे रंग बिरंगे कलर के कपड़े पहनते हैं और वो हमेशा कूल लगने की कोशिश करते हैं, इंग्लिश बोलने की कोशिश करते हैं, ब्रोकन इंग्लिश. Yeah, he's and yeah, like Ashuu ji said, कि वो स्पेशल ऑप्स में उनका परफॉर्मेंस जो वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम दिस. And special ops, his character in special ops can be like वो character जो it can come in family man universe, I guess. Raj&Dk spy universe. But that will not happen because Mansoor Dalal बन गए हैं. Yeah. And I was also surprised by by seeing Rashi Khanna performing, because Rashi Khanna was always this, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, damsel in distress kind of role she always do in South Indian movie. She predominantly works in South Indian
हाँ,
films.
so actually you are, then that means you have seen her work. मैंने उसका पहले काम कभी देखा नहीं है, तो इसीलिए you must be even more surprised with her performance. I was obviously naturally surprised because she did a very matured performance. But then if she's basically done damsel in distress, then again kudos to her and Raj&Dk for that. You're right.
Yes, yeah, because वो हमेशा glamorous kind of role ही करती थी और वो सिर्फ नाच गाने के लिए they used to use her. But like this was very surprising for me. And I was watching her interview also. She was telling that कि मैं अगर हिंदी में काम करूँगी तो कुछ अच्छा करूँगी. I think she always wanted to work. She always wanted to do these kind of roles, meaty roles, but she never got it. And I think she was also comfortable in that industry. But still, I think she did a very good job with her character. और वो character भी बहुत अच्छे से लिखा था. Yeah, that's it. These are my favorite performances. And yes, I have to mention Firoz's character also. Firoz, उनके actor का नाम भूल गया मैं.
Bhuvan Arora.
Bhuvan Arora, yes. Bhuvan Arora was there in a small film called Chaman Bahar. Chaman Bahar में उनका एक छोटा एक role है, which I noticed him for the first time in that film, I guess. But he was in other films also. Like I was looking this Twitter post where they were talking about this actor Bhuvan, और उन्होंने बताया कि ये शुद्ध देसी रोमांस में भी इन्होंने काम किया है. So I think he gave respect. वो जो हीरो का दोस्त का जो ट्रोप है ना, I think उसको उन्होंने बहुत ही अपने तरीके से दिखाया है. दीपक,
पर हीरो का दोस्त होने के बावजूद सौरभ, वो कहीं भी हीरो से कम नहीं लगा. He didn't come across as somebody who's a support actor or a co-actor. He came as a second parallel hero. His significance to the film, his performance, his decision making was second to none. It was actually almost equivalent to what Shahid Kapoor's was. He was brilliant. He's very, very good.
But I wanted the writers to add some characterization. I think they will do that in second season. कि उसको भी एक गर्लफ्रेंड देना है, उसके भी प्रॉब्लम्स, क्योंकि वो 24 घंटे शाहिद कपूर के कैरेक्टर के साथ ही रहते हैं. वो बोलता भी है शायद लास्ट एपिसोड में कि मैं हमेशा तुम्हारे साथ ही रहता हूँ, तो तुम अगर जाओगे वहां तो मैं भी तुम्हारे साथ जाऊंगा. So I think they should add something to his. I think they will do that because
yes, I think you're very right, Saurabh. There has to be a little थोड़ा फ्लैट इसलिए होता है because उसका अपना आर्क थोड़ा कम है. He is quite dependent on शाहिद कपूर्स आर्क. शाहिद जो करता है उसके सपोर्ट में वही सब चलता रहता है. और उसका इंडिपेंडेंट अगर आर्क आएगा तो वो he will stand out that much more as a character. You're right. You're bang on over there.
Okay, so taking off from where both of you have finished about Bhuvan Arora, thankfully, and one has to thank Raj&Dk for this, finally we have a dost in Hindi cinema, who's not just a dost. For one, he's taller than the hero. And his role is, for me, he's actually the star of the show, Bhuvan Arora. He was just absolutely fabulous. and absolutely loved him. और वो सिर्फ हीरो का दोस्त नहीं था, he was much more than that. और सौरभ आप बोल रहे थे ना that उसका arc, और since we are talking about his character, there was something which I wanted to talk about, which is nice to talk about now. Remember the time when he brings Firoz brings that 100 crore deal from the MLA to Shahid, and Shahid is feeling a little nervous about it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
Yes.
yeah. So, and Firoz is pushing him to take it, and so that is kind of a reversal of roles, really. And Shahid says that he's not. So then he says, I always do what you say, but now I've brought you this deal and you don't want to do it, So he is kind of trying to assert, and gets the whole deal going. And, he's very thrilled about it and doesn't have any bad feelings about it. And at that point in time, my question was, when I was watching it, was suddenly, why is Bhuvan pushing so much for this deal? That was another convenient. We were talking about
Correct.
plot
Correct.
points.
Nalini ji, you're so right, because what happens was, मुझे वो folly लगा. मुझे लगा 12,000 करोड़ रुपए का काम, 12,000 crores. इतना बड़ा काम करने के बाद वो 100 करोड़ का काम करने के लिए इतना ईगर क्यों है? तो वो स्क्रिप्ट का कन्वीनियंस लगना शुरू हो गया, बिकॉज मुझे ऐसा लगना शुरू हुआ कि 100 करोड़ का काम अगर वो लेगा तो इसके ट्रैप में फंसने का चांस होगा, और अगर ट्रैप में चांस होगा फंसने का तो स्क्रिप्ट आगे मूव करेगा और थोड़ा थ्रिल बढ़ाने की कोशिश होगी. It was not good enough. You're right. Why does a 100 crore deal sound so attractive when they've just about finished 12,000 crores and the entire currency is still lying in the warehouse? It's not even used fully. So you're bang on.
Right. So for me, that part was unbelievable because he was pushing. It was for me too convenient to take the story forward, And there's another part, if you remember, that every time Shahid says something, this boy goes along with it, And then there is a point where there's a very beautiful scene when Shahid is being rude to Yasir Chacha. Again, a brilliant character played by Chittaranjan Giri. He was too good. I liked him a lot, his performance. And जब वो उसको समझा रहा है, कि हमारे पास family नहीं है, मैं हमेशा वही करता हूँ जो तुम कहते हो, and this time or something. So he's asserting, he's being a little assertive in that scene and saying that, listen, I always listen to you, listen to me. So you're probably very right, Saurabh, that later on they are going to give him an arc. I don't know whether it's going to be a romantic one, but for me, he was absolutely equal, if not better, than Shahid. I actually would put him a notch above Shahid because he looked far more believable in terms of the way he looked. Now, since we are talking about Bhuvan Arora, I want to touch upon this. Ashuji had brought up a very, very important and very good point that both the children have had the same kind of upbringing, right? One of them, Shahid, speaks English so beautifully, this guy can't speak and stuff like that. Now, taking off from there, if you go back, those children, Firoz, when he's a child and he's on this railway station, if you look at him and if you hear his speech, Ashuji,
yeah,
it's not at all like the grown-up Bhuvan, if you know what I mean.
It's a little more refined.
Very refined, very normal, very, and it's not at all like how his accent, but maybe they're trying to say that, acha, ye Bombay mein reh raha hai or whatever, but, uski bhasha kharab ho gayi and stuff like that. So performances-wise, Bhuvan for me is top of the line. And Shahid comes second because, it's wo hero ke liye bana hai, aur uske kapde vapde aur uske baal or all that. And of course, I love Zakir Hussain. I thought he was fabulous as the finance minister. But I'm just thinking, imagine having a finance minister like that,
मतलब ये इतना अजीब relationship है. मतलब in all this, we must not forget that Vijay Sethupathi is also outstanding.
Oh, yes.
He's done so well. Two things I'd like to speak in terms of Vijay Sethupathi and Raj&Dk also. So I have not seen a relationship where, there is a time where there is a junior who has gone to the level of even abusing a minister like in this one. It's it's dark, it's interesting, but it's believable also to a certain extent when he says, क्या बोला? फिर से बोल. और अगले दिन बोलता है, कल रात को कितनी पी ली थी तूने? मतलब कमाल है वो. But in terms of Vijay Sethupathi, when you have a North Indian who's playing a South Indian character, he cuts it into a caricature. On the other hand, if you actually see a South Indian living in Mumbai, he's working hard to fit in, which means he's trying to speak like a North Indian. The South Indian accent just spills out, and that is what happens with Vijay Sethupathi. On the other hand, a North Indian is who's posing to be a South Indian tends to overdo it and kills the character. I think this is again where Raj and DK come to the fore, where they've got somebody with such brilliant performance, and that man, I don't know how good or bad he speaks in terms of Hindi, but he made it look extremely natural. I mean, it was looking very nice.
Yes, and Ashuji, and who normally be in real life also, when you are a little weak with a particular language, और आप articulate नहीं कर सकते उसको ठीक से, that time you use lot of galis in that. ये मैंने भी किया जब मुझे एक पर्टिकुलर भाषा नहीं आती थी, तब मैं गाली से सीखा था वो लैंग्वेज, फेमिलियर हुआ था उस लैंग्वेज से. So what I used to do is I used to add gali to articulate to complete that sentence. इसमें विजय सेतुपति भी वही करते हैं.
Exactly. So Zakir Hussain tells him ना कि गाली के अलावा भी कुछ सीख हिंदी में.
Exactly, yeah.
हाँ बिल्कुल सही कहा. I want to talk about the rest of the performances, but for that we'll get into part 2 of the Farzi podcast.